What's going on YouTube? So today we are in Tennessee to show you guys firsthand the rebirth of a brand that will be rather familiar to our older viewers and rather unfamiliar to our younger viewers, Scout. That's right, after a 44-year gap, Scout is back with not one but two new rugged products that are thoroughly modern yet also honor the past. This is the Scout Traveler SUV and the Terra truck. So are these new SUVs ready to take on things like the Bronco once again? Let's go ahead, take a first look, and find out. So of course, the first place we need to start out with is the exterior. So what this is basically, a combination of futuristic new elements, but also really paying homage to the past models from 44 years ago. You'll see right up here in the front, we've got that classic Scout grille. So you've got this nice shape overall where it's rounded, but we also have very modern lighting elements which will accent this overall appearance. Speaking of the lighting, so as you can see, you do have projector LED headlights on board with your daytime running light through there. You also have fog lamps down below. Now you heard me mention that this is a very rugged vehicle, and you're gonna notice that, of course, as Mason kind of backs up here and gives you a better view of the front. One of the things that's worth pointing out is the fact that we have up to 12 inches of ground clearance, which is obviously enormous. That's actually a little bit more than the Bronco with the Sasquatch package, for example. And this does also allow you to have up to 3 feet of fording depth if you're going into water. Now moving on to our wheels. This concept model does have the 20-inch alloy wheels on board. Nice look to these, kind of have a contrast look with the Scout branding there in the middle. Crucially, this does accommodate up to a 35-inch tire, so that's of course going to again give you a lot of overall capability. Now in terms of cladding, this is actually pretty minimalistic. You'll notice you just have a little thin strip around your wheel arches and a little bit down here on the lower part. The mirrors up here, we have a really nice shape to these. We kind of have a gray finish. I'm sure there will be additional finishes that you can choose from.
Now, it's worth noting, I want to point out what you're looking at today is the Traveler version of the Scout lineup. They do also offer the Terra, which is a pickup truck. You'll see that in the background over there, and it's going to be built off of an all-new body-on-frame platform. Now, here at the side, there's a couple things to mention. First of all, we have this nice silver finish for our door handles. Then up here at the roof, we're also going to have that same matching silver finish. Additionally, this has the cabana top, which is one of the largest opening roofs on any SUV. That's certainly going to be very cool, and we can't wait to show you what that looks like on the inside. But as we head around to the rear, certainly you're going to find a very cool look back here as well. As you can see, one of the main design elements here for the Scout Traveler version is the fact that we have this big all-terrain tire here in the back, kind of like a Wrangler or a Bronco. And then as far as our taillights, they're going to be very slender right through here, but you do have the same overall shape as what you find in the front. And then dropping down to this area, I want to point out your tow rating. Scout says that the Traveler version will be able to tow around 7,000 pounds, whereas this Terra truck over here can tow up to 10,000 pounds. And I want to go ahead and show you what this Terra truck looks like as well. We do actually have a 5.5-foot bed, as well as a crew cab configuration. Additionally, I'm noticing on this version, we have a blacked out roof, which looks really good. And it's actually going to be a solid glass roof instead of the cabana top of this Traveler model. Now, as we head around to the rear design of the Terra, you're going to once again see a lot of these similar elements, except this one doesn't have the full-size spare tire. So you're really going to see the overall taillight shape a little bit better over here. It's going to be a full LED setup. There's a lot of intricate design touches, including this Scout branding over here on the side. And like I mentioned just a little bit ago, this can tow up to 10,000 pounds, which is really important because, of course, it's a truck after all, so people are looking to tow with these types of vehicles. Now, of course, these are just concept vehicles, so we don't have full information regarding what safety systems will be available or standard on this model, but stay tuned as we get updated on more of those details coming soon. But I'm sure you guys are really excited to see the inside, so let's go ahead and dive into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's go ahead and check out the interior now. So obviously there's a lot of unique things going on inside of this interior. The first thing I noticed is that visually it is beautiful. We have a lot of different materials on board, a lot of different colors, and overall it just really looks visually stunning. And again, super futuristic when you first look inside. That being said, one of the things that Scout really emphasized a lot with this new model is the fact that they have a lot of buttons as well. So you still have a futuristic vibe, but nice physical buttons and things to actually engage with that are very tactile. Now, looking inside at our seats, as you can see, of course, they are power adjusting. You've got some interesting controls through there. We have this beautiful seat here with, again, a lot of different types of materials, this nice looking brown material that goes all throughout, and then kind of a cloth trim at the top. And then one of the things I'm actually noticing right now, since this is our first time looking at this, check out this headliner. Very unique kind of striped effect going on through there. It really is just a super cool looking cabin. Now, I will just go ahead and say, again, you know, this isn't a very early concept, and there's not full details of different types of equipment and things that you can expect to see quite yet. Of course, stay tuned to the channel as we get more and more details and it gets closer to this vehicle's launch and when we actually get to drive it. But today we're just kind of peeking inside and taking that first look at the interior. So let's kind of look at some of the individual details of the cabin. So as I kind of work my way through this area, you'll notice you have a digital gauge cluster. It's kind of a standalone display, about 12 inches in approximate size. A power adjusting steering wheel with a very unique looking square shape, and the start stop button is actually integrated right there into the steering wheel itself. Of course, I'm assuming it is going to be heated on the majority of your models, as this is kind of a pretty luxurious looking interior overall. Now, in terms of this center area, you see we have a lot of interior storage. We haven't really mentioned it explicitly yet because we have a lot of details coming about the powertrain in just a little bit, but this is an electric vehicle. And because of that, you have packaging advantages such as having more interior space. So you've got a large console, big storage right there in the center with your cup holders. And then importantly, you've got that giant center pass-through located right through there, which is going to give you a lot of versatility in what you can store inside of the vehicle. Again, another thing I'm noticing, of course, is the fact that you have those buttons that I was mentioning earlier, lots of physical controls through there for your main things you need to engage with. But a few of the things, of course, will be inside of the display. This does come with what is called Scout Community UX. So it's going to be, you know, a software interface that combines the physical controls with some selective use of the capacitive controls inside of the screen. Now, speaking of the screen itself, we don't have the exact dimension of it. Looking at it, it looks to be about 17 or 18 inches, so it is very large. It also looks quite high quality from this perspective. The shifter is going to be up there behind the steering wheel with a electronic style, as is pretty typical for most electric vehicles these days. Now, if you look up top, you can see we have an auto-dimming mirror. One of the really unique elements is that we actually have a built-in compass up there at the top. Again, just showing you this vehicle's purpose and intended use. And then we can take a look at the inside of this cabana top. As you can see, it slides back and just gives you that full open air experience. Now we're peeking inside of the Terra pickup truck. Primarily, these two are going to have the same kinds of options, but they've been equipped differently to kind of demonstrate some of the different configurations. Obviously, one of the things you're probably noticing that's super unique is the fact that this has the available front bench seat that will be offered on both of them again. But when you choose that option, you can actually seat 3 across in the front, which is super, super cool and super unique in this segment. And as you can see, because it is an EV, look at that floor. It's completely flat. So you actually have plenty of space. You won't be cramped at all. Also, another difference inside of this interior is the fact that this one has the available glass roof. If you don't get the cabana top, you can also choose that if you prefer. And then you'll also notice that we have different material selection inside of this cabin. Again, there's going to be a lot of, you know, really unique interior material selections that you can make. They're sustainable and durable materials is what Scout describes them as. But as you can see, this one kind of looks almost like a plywood type of texture. It's really, really cool. And I like the way it just kind of matches with this overall interior scheme.
Now let's talk about the rear seat area. We've switched back over to the Traveler, so we are kind of switching back and forth between these two models. But as you can see, it's a two-row SUV. This is really designed to go head-to-head with vehicles like the Ford Bronco, the Jeep Wrangler, those types of off-roady vehicles. So you'll see that back here in the rear, we do have, a nice spacious seat. It's not going to be a, massive amount. Of course, we don't have full legroom figures yet, but it's going to be plenty of space for you to haul around 3 people here in the rear. And it does seem to be a very luxurious space as well. We have vents here in the center. I'm noticing heated and ventilated seat controls back here, as well as our own climate setup, and there's just lots of space for your feet to rest. Additionally, the seats themselves are going to be really nicely finished with Scout branding, and I just absolutely love this cabana top. It really airs out the cabin, but I'm sure you're probably going to want to see what's in the cargo department, so let's dive into that. So we're here in the cargo department of the Traveler, and as you can see, there's a good amount of space back here. Once again, don't have official numbers yet, but if I was estimating, I would say you're probably looking at least 75 or maybe 80 cubic feet with the seats folded down, so plenty of room for any of your adventures. Do be aware that the load floor is going to be a little bit higher than you might expect because, of course, it has so much room and ground clearance down below. Additionally, you're noticing that we have this setup. This is actually a split tailgate design here on the Traveler, so you'll have room to, sit for any type of tailgating that you may have, and then you have this top portion as well, and you kind of have a Jeep-like setup here with the spare tire on the Traveler.
All right, so let's talk about what is under the hood of these new Scout products. Well, first of all, under the hood, what you'll actually find is a frunk. You have a little bit of storage up there for different odd and end things. And as that probably leads you to understand, that this is an electric product. So again, both of these products are fully electric and on a special dedicated platform. So what would you get from the powertrain? Well, you're looking at up to 1,000 pound-feet of torque, and Scout says that they can go up to 60 miles per hour in as little as 3.5 seconds. So we're talking about some serious performance, both on-road and off-road. Now, the wild card here is the fact that this is going to offer what is called a range extender, or E-Rev, called Harvester. This is actually going to give you a small internal combustion engine in addition to the normal electric architecture, and that engine will charge up the battery pack, allowing you to extend your range from 350 miles, as what it will be standard, to over 500 miles. Now, you heard earlier in the video that these two both have very impressive towing figures, but also if you know anything about electric vehicles, when you start towing, that range tends to plummet. So that range extender should be very, very helpful when it comes to especially using it for towing situations, or maybe if you're really far off-road, way away from any type of charging infrastructure. Now let's talk a little bit about capability as well. This does have what I would call some pretty hardcore features on board. You have front and rear locking diffs, for example. You also have a front sway bar disconnect. And of course, it does have the standard 4-wheel drive system, which is going to be comprised of both a front and rear electric motor system. Then finally, for your charging specifications, this will of course be using the newest NACS, North American Charging Standard, and the charge rates are very, very impressive. It has 350 kilowatt fast charging abilities, and it's on an 800 volt architecture.
Well, guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the all-new Scout Traveler as well as the Terra truck. Now, I'm sure you're probably curious as to when these vehicles are going to be available. Scout says that production will begin in 2027. It's actually going to be produced at their new plant in South Carolina. So, importantly, with that, this is an electric vehicle, so you might be able to qualify for the tax credit. And speaking of pricing, Scout says this will start around the $60,000 price point, and with incentives can go to around $50,000. So it's actually a lot more affordable than you might expect. And guys, that's going to be it for this in-depth review. Hopefully you found it helpful in your purchasing decisions. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below, because by subscribing, you're going to help us get invited to more events like this, where we can see the latest and greatest products and get those reviews to you. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.